Hello, and thank you for joining us. Everyone knows that early childhood is an important time when children learn so many things. For example, they learn to sit up, crawl, walk on all fours, and then they're up and away. They learn to handle objects, get dressed, and eat on their own. They learn to recognize words, articulate words, and put together sentences. It is also during this time that children develop a range of social and emotional skills, such as helping others, sharing toys, or comforting a friend who's sad. This kind of learning attests to a child's development, and it provides indicators of a child's future. Yet, for a variety of reasons, some children may take longer to acquire new skills or have more difficulty doing so. When this happens, the sooner we intervene, the sooner we can remedy the situation and ensure that these children experience optimal development. Early childhood practitioners usually work in child care services, community groups, and other organizations in the Health and Social Services Network. They are in daily contact with children 0 to 5 years of age. Sometimes practitioners notice signs of developmental delay in children while observing them in their daily activities. There is a tool to help practitioners validate their impressions in such cases, the CDAS kit, also called the Child Development Assessment Scale. The CDAS was developed in Quebec by researchers from the Université du Québec à Montréal and the Université de Montréal. They are André Pomerleau, Nathalie Vézina, Jacques Moreau, Gérard Malcuit, and René Séguin. This tool is simple to use, inexpensive, and reliable. It allows, through a series of simple tasks, to detect developmental delay in children 0 to 5 years of age. Since the first edition in 2005, more than 1,200 kits have been distributed throughout Quebec, and the CDAS continues to gain in popularity. What's more, an English language version has been available since January 2014. In this video, we will first introduce you to the CDAS. Then, we'll speak with the director of a child care center and explain the benefits of using this tool. Also, we'll tell you about its psychometric features. And finally, we'll introduce you to some of the kit's components. The CDAS can best be understood by comparing it to a thermometer. A thermometer only tells us whether or not a child has a fever, not whether the fever is caused by a cold, teething, or meningitis. Like a thermometer, the CDAS is not a diagnostic tool. It indicates whether or not a child presents a developmental delay. It does not identify the cause. The CDAS assesses a child's cognitive and language skills, along with motor and social-emotional skills. When used with very young children, the CDAS can evaluate a child's ability to transform sensory information into age-appropriate motor behavior. For example, when a rattle is shown to an infant, we observe whether the infant experiences visual or auditory stimulation. Observations are also made on whether the infant grasps the rattle when it's offered, whether the infant produces language-associated sounds, and whether the infant smiles when someone talks to or smiles at him. For older children, the ability to memorize sentences is assessed, as is their understanding of abstract concepts, such as go up and go down. For motor skills, we observe whether or not a child can stay balanced while standing on one leg, or can use scissors to cut out a geometric shape that's traced on a piece of paper. Observations are also made on whether or not a child cooperates during the assessment, interacts easily with a practitioner, and shows a sense of pride when congratulated. Now, getting back to our thermometer. When a child has a fever and his temperature is too high, or the fever lasts too long, we know that we have to consult a doctor. On the other hand, if a child's fever is mild, a few simple interventions will suffice to provide relief. The same principle applies with the CDAS. Once the assessment is completed and the results compiled, the scores can be recorded on a thermometer. If the result is found to be in the comfort zone, the child's development may be considered appropriate. On the other hand, if the result is within the to-be monitored zone, then implementing an intervention plan to provide the child with stimulation activities is recommended. Finally, if the result is in the referral zone, the child must be referred to a professional who can establish a diagnosis. Mrs. Iglio, who's the director of a child care center, now joins us to talk about the importance of the CDAS in the field. Mrs. Iglio, hello, and thank you for taking some time to talk to us.
Hello.
Now, the CDAS is finally available in English. Can you tell us what this news means to you?
Happy to have this tool because this really helps us identify areas of development where children may have problems in. Once the assessment is done, you end up with a report, and that report helps validate what we have been concerned about or the findings that we found to be able to sit down and have a conversation with the parents. This is important because it increases the quality of care that we would have in child care centers and be able to have early interventions for children at a young age.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the scientific aspects of the CDAS for a minute. First of all, the CDAS can be considered a credible tool because it has very good psychometric features in terms of validity and fidelity. For example, researchers compared CDAS results with those obtained through other child development assessment tools, such as the Bailey and Stanford Binet. The comparison allowed to demonstrate that the CDAS results are comparable to the results of these recognized tools, which are used in early childhood settings. Also, the CDAS presents the advantage of being precise. Since young children develop very quickly, comparing the skills of an 18-month-old child, for example, with those of an older one would be inappropriate. Even an age variation of a few months would represent a tremendous lapse of time when it comes to the development of skills. For this reason, the CDAS proposes specific measurements for 14 different age levels between 0 and 5 years. This age breakdown ensures accurate identification of a child's development and allows to determine whether or not a child can be compared to other children in the same age group. Finally, researchers were often faced with this query. Why was the CDAS created if other accurate tools existed? Well, beyond the scientific aspects we've just discussed, people in the field need an instrument of measure that has features not always found in other available tools. It was important for the authors to develop a resource that could be used by frontline practitioners who are not child development experts. These people are in a position to observe children and to see when something is not quite right. For this reason, it was paramount to provide them with a tool that would enable them to respond quickly when necessary, while at the same time taking into account their work context. The CDAS was thus designed to be simple and quick to administer. On average, 30 minutes is all that's required to complete the assessment. It's also easy to interpret and inexpensive. It's the only tool available on the Francophone and Anglophone market that brings together all of these characteristics in addition to providing excellent psychometric features. Now, let's take a closer look at the contents of the kit and see how to use it. First of all, the kit contains a user guide that gives instructions and presents the material required to assess children based on each of the 14 age groups. It also features a vignette booklet containing a variety of pictures used to verify the scope of children's vocabulary or to determine their ability to understand a number of concepts. The kit also includes various objects used during the assessment that are familiar to children, such as cubes, a ball, scissors, crayons, pencils, and books. In the kit, one will also find a USB drive, which allows practitioners to print out the scoring checklists that they need to record children's responses. And finally, the USB drive also contains a correction tool that can be used to automatically compile the results once the assessment is completed. To clarify, here are a few examples of tasks that children are asked to perform by using the kit's material. This is the Caillou book, which we use for children from 3 to 15 months of age to see whether they are inclined to look at pictures or turn pages. Cubes are used in a different way, depending on the child's age. For example, younger children are observed to determine whether they are able to hold cubes in their hands or place them in the cup. Older children are asked to build a tower with a defined number of cubes, or to count the cubes placed on the table. The same principle applies to the ball. Babies are assessed to determine whether they visually track a ball that is rolled in front of them on the table. Older children are asked to catch the ball that is thrown to them, or to kick it with their foot. Here we have a measuring tape. It's used for children 15 months and over. First of all, the tape is extended and stuck to the floor with masking tape. The child may be asked to help out with this task to see whether or not he or she is agreeable to helping. The child is then asked to tiptoe or to run along the length of the tape or to jump over it, as though trying to jump across a river. The CDAS is produced and distributed by the Center for Liaison on Intervention and Prevention in the Psychosocial Area, also called the CLIP. It's a non-profit organization committed to the sharing of scientific knowledge. The CLIP builds bridges between research communities and people in the field. So if you would like to find out more about the CDAS, please visit the CLIP's website. To encourage optimal, appropriate use of the CDAS, the CLIP also offers practitioners a one-day training session that provides a combination of theory, audio-visual presentations, discussion and question periods, as well as hands-on exercises. This training session enables early childhood practitioners to become more familiar with the kit's material, as well as with the instructions for administering it. The session also helps to gain a better grasp of both the concepts and the ethical issues surrounding the use of the CDAS. Finally, the CLIP provides post-training support for practitioners who have questions concerning the use of the CDAS in their practice. Please don't hesitate to contact the CLIP to find out about upcoming training session dates, to order the CDAS kit, or if you have any questions. On this note, I thank you for your attention. Goodbye.